Now, let's begin. The morning fog rolled across the mountain training facility like a gray blanket. Marcus Sanders stood on the observation deck, watching his students run combat drills in the valley below. 20 years in special forces had taught him patience, precision, and the difference between violence and controlled force. Now, at 43, he spent his days teaching counterterrorism tactics to operators from agencies across the country. His phone buzzed. A text from his daughter, Jessie. "Mom says I can't come this weekend." "Sorry, Dad." Marcus exhaled slowly. The custody arrangement had become a minefield since Christine remarried 8 months ago. Her new husband, Buddy Kennedy, ran a motorcycle club out of Nevada. Not the weekend warrior type, but the kind that operated in legal gray zones and darker territories beyond. Marcus had met him once, sized him up in 3 seconds. Arrogant, volatile, the type who wore his criminal record like medals. Sanders. Gerard Reynolds jogged up the steps, one of Marcus's senior instructors. "Class is ready for the urban assault demonstration." Marcus pocketed his phone. "Let's go." The facility sprawled across 200 acres of Montana wilderness. Marcus had built it from nothing over the past decade, transforming it into the premier training ground for tactical operators. His students came from FBI hostage rescue, Delta, DV Group, and alphabet agencies most people never heard of. They came because Marcus Sanders had a reputation. He turned good operators into exceptional ones. In the kill house, 41 students waited. Marcus recognized faces from previous rotations. Andy Miner from FBI, Vincent Briggs from Marshal Service, Sean Holden from an agency whose letters he couldn't pronounce. Hard men and women who'd seen action, who understood what failure meant in their world. "Live fire exercise begins at 0600 tomorrow," Marcus announced. "Target discrimination, hostage rescue, time-critical elimination." Questions? Devin Nicholson raised a hand. Rules of engagement? Same as always. Treat every scenario like your family's life depends on it. Because someday it might. The words felt heavier than usual. Marcus dismissed the class and retreated to his office, a Spartan room with maps, weapon schematics, and a single photo of Jessie at her 8th grade graduation. She was 15 now, growing up too fast in a world Marcus couldn't fully protect her from anymore. His phone rang. Unknown number. "This is Sanders." Breathing. Ragged, painful breathing. "Dad." Jessie's voice, barely a whisper. Marcus was on his feet, hand already reaching for his keys. "Baby, what's wrong?" I need you. Please." "Where are you?" "Hospital. Reno General." "Dad, Her voice broke into sobs. "I'm coming. 20 minutes to the airstrip, 2 hours flight time." "Hold on, Jessie. I'm coming." He was out the door before the call ended, already running scenarios. Christine would have called if it were an accident. The way Jessie's voice cracked, the fear underneath the pain, something deliberate had happened. Gerard intercepted him at the parking lot. "Marcus, what's wrong?" "My daughter's in the hospital. I need you to run tomorrow's exercise." "Done." "Need backup." Marcus paused at his truck door. Gerard had been Delta, had that look that said he knew this wasn't a typical emergency. "Not yet, but keep your phone on." The flight to Reno felt like swimming through concrete. Marcus made 3 calls. His lawyer, a PI he'd used before, and an old Army buddy who now worked casino security in Vegas. He gathered information like ammunition, loading up for a war he could feel coming. Reno General's fluorescent lights turned everything the color of old bone. Marcus found Christine in the waiting room. Her face aged 10 years since he'd last seen her. She looked up, mascara streaked, hands trembling. "Marcus, where is she?" "ICU. Room 317. "There, she's stable, but..." Marcus walked past her. He'd never hit a woman in his life, but right then, looking at Christine's guilty face, he understood how people crossed lines they never thought they would. The ICU nurse tried to stop him at Jessie's door. Marcus showed his military ID, and something in his expression made her step aside. Jessie lay in a hospital bed like a broken doll. Her left eye swollen shut, purple and black spreading across her cheekbone. Her lips split, stitched up, but it was her eyes, the visible one, that destroyed him. The light had gone out. "Hey, Hey, sweetheart. Marcus took her hand, the one without the four. Jessie turned her head slowly, wincing. You came. Always. He kept his voice gentle, even his rage built like a pressure system behind his ribs. What happened? Tears leaked from her good eye. It was my birthday. Mom had to work late. Buddy said he'd throw me a party. His club was there. Marcus's jaw locked. He waited. They had beer, and Buddy kept saying I should try it, that I was almost grown. I said no, but he got mean about it. Then his friends started saying things about how I looked, about what they wanted to do. How many men, Jesse? 23. I counted them, Dad. I counted because that's what you taught me. Always know how many threats you're facing. Pride and horror twisted together in Marcus's chest. Even in hell, his daughter remembered her training. They held me down. Her voice had gone flat, mechanical. Buddy filmed it on his phone. They were laughing. When I fought back, she gestured to her face. Someone kicked me. I heard my ribs crack. They said happy birthday, called me Mom's little. She couldn't finish. Marcus stood slowly. He walked to the window, looked out at the Reno skyline, and made a decision that would change everything. Did you tell the police? Buddy said if I told anyone, he'd kill you. He said he has connections, that you'd disappear and no one would ever find you. He showed me pictures on his phone. Other girls. What they did to them. Look at me, Jesse. She did with that one good eye. I want you to tell the police everything. Every detail. And I want you to know that Buddy Kennedy made a mistake tonight. Dad, you can't. He has the whole club. 23 guys. They're crazy. Marcus kissed her forehead. Baby girl, I train people who hunt crazy for a living. And I'm about to teach them the most important lesson of their careers. In the hallway, Christine grabbed his arm. Marcus, please. But he didn't mean for it to go that far. He was drunk, they all were. Marcus removed her hand with careful precision. You left our daughter alone with a predator in his pack. He said it was just beer. I didn't know. You knew exactly what kind of man he is. You chose him anyway. Marcus leaned close. When the police come, you tell them everything. If you lie to protect him, if you obstruct this investigation in any way, I will make sure you go down with him. Are we clear? Christine nodded, sobbing. Marcus found the detective in charge, a weathered woman named Katie Adams who'd seen too much and believed too little. He gave her a statement, ensured Jesse's rape kit was processed correctly, provided names and addresses of known Iron Cross Motorcycle Club members. Mr. Sanders, Detective Adams said carefully, I know your former special forces. I know what you're capable of. I need you to let us handle this. Of course, Detective. I have faith in the justice system. Adams didn't look convinced, but she had no grounds to hold him. Marcus made it back to Montana by dawn. He didn't sleep. Instead, he sat in his office, pulling up everything he could find on the Iron Cross MC. 23 members. Buddy Kennedy as president. Charges ranging from drug trafficking to assault, but nothing that stuck. Witnesses recanted, evidence disappeared, prosecutors got transferred. Then he found the connection. Ernie Kennedy, Buddy's older brother, worked as a special agent in the FBI's Sacramento field office. Not just any agent. He ran the organized crime unit covering Nevada and Northern California. The sun rose over the mountains, painting everything gold and red. Marcus's students assembled for morning PT, unaware that their curriculum was about to change. Gerard found him at the armory, checking inventory on training weapons. You look like hell. Feel worse. Marcus handed him a tablet. Read that. Gerard's expression darkened as he scrolled through the police report Marcus had pulled. Jesus Christ. These animals. I need a favor. Actually, I need 41 favors. Name it. Marcus outlined his plan. It was methodical, surgical, and completely illegal. Gerard listened without interrupting. And when Marcus finished, he said only, when do we start? Gerard called an emergency assembly. The students gathered in the main briefing room, confused by the unscheduled meeting. Marcus stood at the front, and the room went silent. Some of you have been through my program 3. For times, Marcus began. You know I don't waste your time. Everything we do here has a purpose. Today, I'm going to ask you something I've never asked before. He pulled up a photo of Jessie on the screen. Not from the hospital, that would come later, but from her last birthday, smiling in her soccer uniform. "This is my daughter, Jessie. She's 15 years old. 4 days ago, on her 16th birthday, she was gang raped by 23 members of a motorcycle club while their president filmed it. They beat her unconscious, broke 3 ribs, knocked out 2 teeth. Then they threatened to kill her if she told anyone." The room's temperature seemed to drop. Vincent Briggs's fists clenched. Andy Miner's face went stone cold. "I reported it to Reno PD, gave them names, addresses, everything. You know what happened? 48 hours later, the detective called me. Evidence was compromised. 2 witnesses recanted. The DA won't file charges. Turns out the club president's brother is FBI, and he's made this whole thing disappear." Sean Holden stood up. "Sir, what do you need?" Marcus pulled up a map on the screen, 23 red dots scattered across Nevada and Northern California. "Final exam starts now. These are your targets. You have 72 hours to plan and execute a multi-theater simultaneous strike. Objective: complete neutralization of a hostile force. Rules of engagement: none. This is not a simulation." The room erupted, not in protest, in questions about logistics, equipment, coordination. These were operators who understood that sometimes justice lived outside the law. Anyone who wants out, leave now. No judgment, no consequences. But if you stay, you're all in. This goes wrong, we all go down together. No one moved. Arthur Merritt, a grizzled former ranger, raised his hand. "Equipment. Everything in the armory is available. Non-lethal preferred for evidence reasons, but your discretion on methodology. Support. I have a PI gathering real-time intelligence on target movements, patterns, safe houses, regular haunts. You'll have full tactical packages on each target by tomorrow." Lee Quick stood. "What about the FBI brother?" "Leave him to me. He's not part of the 72-hour window. He's a separate problem requiring a different solution." Gerard distributed tablets with encrypted access to the target database. Marcus had spent 3 days compiling it. Criminal records, known associates, vehicles, weaknesses. The Iron Cross MC operated out of a clubhouse in Sparks, Nevada, but the members spread across 3 states for their various enterprises. "Work in teams," Marcus instructed. "No more than 3 to a target. Document everything. I want proof of contact, timestamps, locations. When this is done, I need to be able to account for every second." Eric Hooper, former FBI hostage rescue, approached Marcus after the briefing. "You know we're crossing a line here. No going back." "I know. Good. Because I'm tired of watching these animals walk free on technicalities. Count me in." The next 18 hours were a masterclass in operational planning. Marcus's students transformed into hunter-killer teams, analyzing patterns, identifying vulnerabilities, coordinating timing. They worked with the efficiency of a military campaign because that's exactly what it was. Marcus focused on 3 targets himself: Buddy Kennedy, his lieutenant Perry Frank, and the club's enforcer, a 6'5" monster named Zach Chong, who'd done the most damage to Jessie based on her description. Gerard found Marcus in the kill house at midnight, running through scenarios. The teams are ready. Devin's group takes the Northern Territories. Vincent handles the California targets, and he's coordinating the Reno area strikes. Everyone's synchronized for 0200 Friday. Extraction plans? Each team has 2 routes out. We got safe houses across 4 states. Vehicles are rentals, paid cash, registered to shell companies. Your PI friend did good work. Marcus nodded. What about cleanup? Bud Archer's team is handling that. Former SEAL, ran ops in Yemen. He says they'll make it look like a club war. Plant evidence suggesting the Diablos MC moved on Iron Cross territory. The Diablos were Iron Cross's main rivals, a larger gang with more resources and a history of violence. Perfect scapegoats. Communication protocols? Burner phones, used once, destroyed after. No digital trail. We're using the old SIGINT protocols from Afghanistan. Assume all electronic communication is compromised, work around it. Marcus checked his watch. 36 hours until execution. He needed to visit Jessie once more, needed to see her before he became someone different. The hospital had moved her to a regular room. She sat propped up on pillows, watching TV with vacant eyes. The physical wounds were healing. The other kind would take longer. Hey, baby girl. Jesse's face brightened, then winced at the movement. Dad, they said you went back to Montana. Had some work to finish. How are you feeling? Like I got hit by a truck. The doctors say I'm lucky. Doesn't feel lucky. Marcus sat in the chair beside her bed. Jesse, I need you to listen carefully. Over the next few days, some things are going to happen. Bad men are going to disappear. The police are going to ask questions. If anyone asks if you talked to me, if I said anything about revenge or justice, what do you say? That you told me to trust the system. That you're a law-abiding citizen who believes in due process. Good girl. And that's not entirely a lie. I do believe in justice. Just not the kind that lets animals walk free. Jesse grabbed his hand. Dad, what are you going to do? I'm going to make sure they never hurt anyone again. And I'm going to make sure you can sleep at night without being afraid. Will you get in trouble? Marcus smiled. Not if we do it right. And sweetheart, I've been doing this right for 20 years. He stayed until she fell asleep, her hand in his, and for those few hours, he was just a father watching over his child. But when he walked out of that hospital, he was something else entirely. The PI, a former cop named Israel McKenna, met Marcus at a diner off I-80. He slid a thick folder across the booth. Everything you wanted. Schedules, girlfriends, favorite bars, drug dealers, suppliers. Half these guys have warrants out already. The other half should. Marcus flipped through the pages. Buddy Kennedy kept regular hours at a strip club he owned in Sparks. Perry Frank ran drugs every Tuesday night along the same route. Zach Chong had a girlfriend in Carson City he visited every Thursday. What about Ernie Kennedy? Israel's expression darkened. That's the wild card. He's dirty, but careful. Uses his FBI credentials to protect the club, but keeps distance publicly. No direct evidence of wrongdoing. However, he pulled out a separate file. He's got a gambling problem. Owes 300 grand to some very impatient people in Vegas. People who don't care about FBI badges. Interesting. Marcus, I know what you're planning. These guys deserve it. But Ernie's connected. He can make you disappear. Not if I disappear him first. Israel leaned back. I didn't hear that. Hear what? They shook hands. Marcus paid cash, left no trail. On the drive back to Montana, he called Christine. How's Jesse? Better. Physically. Marcus, the DA really won't prosecute. Ernie Kennedy called me personally. Said if we push this, he'd make sure Jesse's name got dragged through every news outlet in the state. Said they'd paint her as a willing participant. Let him try. What does that mean? It means you need to take Jesse and go visit your sister in Oregon for a week. Starting tomorrow. Why? Because I asked. Can you do this one thing, Christine? Just this once, trust me. There was a long pause. She's in Oregon. I'll take her tomorrow. But Marcus, please don't do anything crazy. I'm the sanest I've been in years. Back at the facility, the operation hummed with controlled energy. Teams conducted final equipment checks. Routes were memorized. Contingencies planned. Marcus gathered everyone for a final briefing. Last chance to walk away, he said. What we're about to do will haunt some of you. It should. We're not executioners. We're operators conducting a mission against hostile targets who evaded justice through corruption. But make no mistake, this is permanent. No mercy, no hesitation. They didn't show my daughter any, and we won't show them any. Eduardo Gentry raised his hand. What's the acceptable casualty count? 0 on our side. All 23 on theirs. I want this clean, surgical, and complete. By Saturday morning, the Iron Cross Motorcycle Club ceases to exist. The teams disperse to their vehicles. Unmarked vans, rental cars, motorcycles for the California runs. They'd leave in staggered intervals, nothing suspicious, just tourists and business travelers crossing state lines. Marcus rode with Gerard in a black SUV. Their targets were the 3 that mattered most, Buddy, Perry, and Zach. Personal. The others were tactical necessities. These 3 were vengeance. You really think we can pull this off? Gerard asked as they crossed into Nevada. 41 trained operators versus 23 criminals who think they're invincible? The only question is how clean we keep it. And Ernie Kennedy? Marcus pulled out his phone, showed Gerard a series of text messages from an unknown number. Threats, increasingly violent. Promises of what would happen to Marcus, to Jesse, to everyone he loved. Ernie made a mistake. He threatened a federal facility, sent terroristic threats across state lines. That's federal jurisdiction. And I know some people in federal jurisdiction who owe me favors. Gerard grinned. You devious bastard. I learned from the best. They reached the safe house outside Sparks at dusk. 3 other teams were already there, checking weapons, reviewing maps. The atmosphere was professional, focused. These weren't vigilantes. They were soldiers executing a lawful combat operation against hostiles who'd forfeited their right to mercy. Andy Miner spread a map across the table. Red circles marked target locations. Blue arrows showed approach routes. Green dots indicated extraction points. Zach Chong is the wild card, Andy said. 6'5", 280. Prison record shows he put 3 men in ICU during a bar fight. He won't go down easy. Marcus studied the map. He's also predictable. Every Thursday night, he visits his girlfriend in Carson City. Takes the same route, parks in the same spot, stays until midnight. We take him in the parking garage. Enclosed space, limited escape routes. What about witnesses? Security cameras have a blind spot on the 3rd level. I scouted it yesterday. We have a 4-minute window between camera sweeps. Vincent Briggs joined them, carrying a duffel bag of specialized equipment. Non-lethal is going to be tricky with someone that size. I'm thinking tranquilizer first then. No tranquilizers, Marcus interrupted. Too variable. Someone that big, wrong dose could kill him too fast. I want him conscious. I want him to understand what's happening. Gerard caught Marcus's eye. They'd fought together in Fallujah, had seen what combat did to men's souls. Gerard knew Marcus was walking a dark path, but he also knew why. The others? Vincent asked. Most are easier. Perry Frank's a coward, runs at the first sign of trouble. The clubhouse group, we hit them all at once, no chance to scatter. By 0400 Saturday, they're all in the wind. And bodies? Marcus pulled out a separate folder, marked with a red X, Nevada Desert. Old mining territory. Hundreds of abandoned shafts, some dropping 300 feet. By the time anyone finds anything, there won't be enough left to identify. The room went quiet. This was the moment, the point where theory became reality, where every man present crossed a line they could never uncross. Sean Holden spoke first. My sister was raped when she was 16. The guy got probation because his father was a city councilman. She killed herself 2 years later. So yeah, I'm in. All the way. Arthur Merritt. I spent 3 tours watching Taliban fighters get released because of insufficient evidence. Watch them kill my friends 6 months later. I'm done with the justice system. One by one, every operator in the room committed. Not just to the mission, but to the consequences. They understood they were becoming something different, something necessary in a world where evil often wore the armor of corruption. Friday, 0200 hours. The operation began. Team Alpha, led by Devin Nicholson, hit 3 targets in Reno simultaneously. 2 mid-level dealers, 1 enforcer. All 3 vanished from house party like ghosts, bundled into vans, sedated, and transported to the desert facility Marcus had prepared. By 0230, they were secured in separate shipping containers, awaiting the final phase. Team Bravo, Vincent's California contingent, moved on 4 targets in Sacramento. 2 were at a strip club, easy prey. The 3rd required more finesse, a home invasion masked as a burglary, executed with surgical precision. The 4th fought back, ended up with 2 broken arms for his trouble. All 4 joined their brothers in the desert by dawn. Marcus and Gerard tracked Buddy Kennedy. He'd stayed late at his club, counting money in his office, protected by 2 bodyguards who thought themselves dangerous. They weren't prepared for operators who'd killed actual terrorists in actual war zones. Gerard took the first guard with a chokehold that left him unconscious in 7 seconds. Marcus used a taser on the second. 50,000 volts, perfectly legal for civilian purchase, devastatingly effective when applied correctly. Both guards were zip-tied and gagged before they fully understood what was happening. Buddy looked up from his money as Marcus entered the office. Recognition flashed across his face, followed by fear. You're Jesse's. Marcus drove his fist into Buddy's solar plexus, a precise strike that paralyzed the diaphragm. Buddy collapsed, gasping like a fish. Gerard bound his hands and ankles with practiced efficiency. "We're going to take a little drive," Marcus said quietly. "You're going to come willingly, or I'm going to break both your legs and drag you. Your choice." Buddy tried to speak, but his lungs hadn't recovered. Marcus waited patiently. He had all the time in the world. Finally, "You're crazy? Ernie will. Your brother can't help you now. Neither can your club. Neither can anyone. You made a choice when you hurt my daughter. Now you live with the consequences." They loaded Buddy into a panel van. The club security cameras showed only static. Bud Archer's team had handled the electronics perfectly. No evidence, no witnesses, no trace. Perry Frank proved even easier. He was drunk at a casino, stumbling to his car at 0315. Two operators intercepted him in the parking structure, and he literally wet himself when Vincent showed him a government badge. He kept babbling about having rights, about lawyers, right up until the sedative took effect. Zach Chong required the full team. They hit him in Carson City as planned, but the man was a beast. It took 4 operators to subdue him, and even sedated he fought. Marcus watched dispassionately as they loaded the enforcer into a reinforced cage in the back of a truck. This one would require special handling. By Saturday dawn, all 23 targets were secured. The desert facility, an abandoned mining camp Marcus had purchased through a shell company, held them in separate containers, each outfitted with basic life support, but nothing else. No communication between prisoners, no idea where they were or what was coming. Marcus walked between the containers as the sun rose over the Nevada wasteland. Inside each steel box, a man who'd hurt his daughter. Men who'd filmed it, laughed about it, threatened her into silence. Gerard joined him. "Last chance to change the plan. We could turn them over to authorities, provide evidence." "What evidence?" Arnie's already buried it. These men would be free in 6 months, back to their regular business, hurting other daughters, other families. "So we kill them?" Marcus shook his head. "No, we give them a choice." He'd had 18 hours to think during the operation, to consider not just revenge, but justice. The difference between becoming a monster and remaining human. The plan had evolved. Marcus addressed his students, gathered in the pre-dawn light. "You volunteered for a mission. You executed perfectly. But this is where it changes. I'm offering everyone a choice. Walk away now, or see this through to the end. But understand, the end isn't what you think." Andy Minor crossed his arms. "Explain." "We're not killing them. We're erasing them. Different thing entirely." Marcus laid out the revised plan. It was complex, required resources he'd been building for years, but it was possible. More than possible, it was perfect. The Iron Cross MC members would disappear, yes, but not into graves. Into new identities, new lives, scattered across the globe in places where their pasts couldn't follow. Places where they'd spend every day looking over their shoulders, where the life they'd known was burned to ashes, where they'd understand what it meant to lose everything. "There'll be ghosts," Marcus explained. "No families, no friends, no club, no protection. We're taking everything that made them feel powerful and leaving them with nothing but fear." "And Buddy?" Gerard asked. Marcus smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Buddy gets special treatment." They moved Buddy Kennedy to a separate building, an old mining office Marcus had converted for this specific purpose. When Buddy woke, he found himself chained to a chair in front of a computer screen. Marcus sat across from him. "I'm going to show you something." He hit play. The screen filled with footage, Buddy's own phone videos from Jesse's birthday. Every horrific second, filmed in high definition. Buddy's laughter as soundtrack. You filmed evidence of your own crime. Arrogant. Stupid. But useful. Marcus switched to a different screen. This is a live feed to every major news outlet in Nevada, California, and Oregon. One click, and your videos go viral. Your face, your name, your voice. Every news station, every website, every social media platform. You'll be the most hated man in America within 6 hours. Buddy's face went pale. You can't. Or, Marcus continued, you and your entire club disappear. New names, new lives, but under my control. You go where I send you, work the jobs I assign, report to the handlers I choose. You become productive members of society, or you become America's most wanted rapists. Your choice. Ernie will find me. Hill. Ernie is about to have much bigger problems than you. Marcus pulled out his phone, showed Buddy a news article timestamped for 0600 that morning. FBI agent under investigation for organized crime connections. The article detailed Ernie Kennedy's relationship with the Iron Cross MC, complete with photos, financial records, and sworn statements from confidential informants. Turns out your brother's been dirty for a while. The people he owes money to in Vegas, they kept detailed records. And when those records reached the right people at the Justice Department, well, let's just say Ernie's about to learn what it's like when the system turns against you. Buddy tried to speak, but Marcus wasn't finished. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to sign legal documents transferring all club assets to a nonprofit I've established, one that helps victims of sexual assault. Your clubhouse, your strip club, your drug money, all of it. Then you're getting on a plane to Alaska, where you'll spend the next 20 years working a fishing boat under a different name. You'll check in weekly with my people. You'll never contact anyone from your old life. And you'll spend every day knowing that if you step out of line, those videos go public. And if I refuse, Marcus stood. Then I release the videos anyway, and you go to prison, where coincidentally, I have friends who'll make sure every inmate knows exactly what you did. Child rapists don't do well in general population. You'd be lucky to last a week. Buddy Kennedy signed everything. One by one, Marcus processed the others. Some fought, some begged, all eventually complied. They were criminals, but they weren't idiots. The choice was clear: accept exile and anonymity, or face public destruction. Perry Frank went to a logging camp in British Columbia. Zach Sean got shipped to an oil rig off the coast of Newfoundland. Each of the 23 received their sentence. Permanent exile from everything they'd known, forever looking over their shoulder, forever aware that Marcus Sanders held their lives in his hands. By Sunday evening, it was done. 23 men had vanished from Nevada. Local news reported it as a gang war. The Diablos MC claimed credit for eliminating their rivals, and police found just enough planted evidence to make it believable. The Iron Cross Motorcycle Club was erased from existence. Marcus stood in his Montana facility, watching the news coverage with Gerard. Think it'll stick? The cover story? Probably. Gang violence, missing criminals. Cops won't look too hard, especially with Ernie Kennedy about to be indicted. Gerard paused. What about your students? They just became accessories to 23 kidnappings. They became heroes. They removed 23 predators from society without killing anyone. That's what I'll tell myself anyway. And can you live with that? Marcus thought of Jesse, recovering in Oregon, no longer waking up screaming. Yeah, I can live with that. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You made a mistake. I'm going to bury you. Ernie Kennedy. Right on schedule. Marcus smiled and texted back. Bring a bigger shovel. You'll need it. The FBI investigation into Ernie Kennedy moved faster than expected. The Vegas casino people had provided a treasure trove of evidence. Wiretaps, financial records, surveillance footage of Ernie taking bribes. The Justice Department loved taking down corrupt agents. It showed they policed their own. But Ernie had one card left to play: political pressure. His connections went deep. Senators, judges, people who owed him favors. Within 48 hours, the investigation stalled. Evidence went missing. Witnesses recanted. Marcus had anticipated this. He'd spent 20 years building relationships with people in dark places. Old spec ops buddies who'd gone into three-letter agencies, DEA agents who'd worked narco ops, prosecutors who'd seen too many guilty men walk free. He activated every connection, called in every favor. Tuesday morning, Ernie Kennedy woke to find federal marshals at his door. The indictment was federal now. RICO charges connecting him to 15 years of criminal activity. The evidence was overwhelming, and this time, it came from sources even Ernie's connections couldn't touch. He called Marcus. You think you won? I'm going to tear you apart in court. I'll expose everything. Your facility, your students, what you did to my brother. Go ahead. Marcus said calmly. Tell everyone how your brother and his club gang raped a 15-year-old girl, and you used your FBI credentials to cover it up. I'm sure that'll play great with a jury. You kidnapped 23 people. Did I? Because I can account for every hour of last weekend. I was in Montana teaching a class. I have 41 witnesses who'll testify I never left the state. Meanwhile, you've had a long history of corruption, and your brother's club mysteriously disappeared right when you were supposed to be protecting them. Funny how that looks. Ernie's breathing grew ragged. I'll find them. I'll find what you did. Good luck. Because even if you do, you'll need to explain to a federal prosecutor why you're so interested in a gang of rapists. Unless, of course, you're admitting your connection to them. I'm sure the FBI would love to hear that. The line went dead. Marcus sat back in his office chair. Checkmate. Ernie Kennedy's trial would take months, but the outcome was certain. He'd go to prison, spend years watching his life crumble. And every day, he'd wonder what happened to his brother, where Buddy ended up, whether he was dead or alive or something worse. Marcus returned to Reno to pick up Jessie. She met him at Christine's sister's house, still bruised but healing. Her eyes had some light back in them. Dad, I saw the news. The Iron Cross MC. They're all gone. Gang war, apparently. Diablos took them out. Jessie studied his face. You didn't have anything to do with it? I was in Montana, teaching a class. Ask any of my students. She hugged him tight. Thank you. For what? For making me feel safe again. Marcus held his daughter and felt the weight of what he'd done settle onto his shoulders. It wasn't guilt. These men had earned their fate. But it was a burden nonetheless, the knowledge that he'd crossed lines most people never even saw. Come on, he said. Let's go home. They drove back to Montana together, father and daughter, and for the first time in weeks, Jessie fell asleep in the car without nightmares. 3 months later, Marcus received a package. No return address, postmarked from Alaska. Inside was a single sheet of paper with one sentence written in shaky handwriting. I'm sorry. Marcus burned it. Some things didn't deserve forgiveness. He built a new life for Jessie. Therapy, new school, protection that didn't advertise itself but was always present. His students from that weekend? They scattered back to their agencies, carrying with them the knowledge that sometimes justice required more than badges and courts. In the dark corners of the world, 23 men lived in exile, working hard jobs under fake names, always aware that one wrong move would bring everything crashing down. They'd been given a second chance at life, but not the one they'd chosen. Every day was a reminder of what they'd lost, what they'd done, what they'd become. Marcus Sanders continued teaching counterterrorism tactics. His reputation grew. Operators spoke of him with respect, sometimes fear, always admiration. They didn't know the full story, but they knew enough. Marcus Sanders protected what mattered, and heaven help anyone who threatened his family. Gerard Reynolds became his full partner in the facility, and together they built something remarkable, a training program that taught not just tactics, but judgment. When to use force, when to show mercy, when to stand up, and when to walk away. But they never forgot that weekend. How could they? It had changed them all. One evening, sitting on the observation deck watching the sun set over the mountains, Gerard asked, "You think we did the right thing?" Marcus considered. "I think we did the necessary thing. Not the same as right, but close enough. No regrets. Only one. I regret that men like Buddy Kennedy exist. But given that they do, I don't regret what we did to stop them." Gerard nodded. They sat in comfortable silence, two soldiers who'd seen war and chosen to fight a different kind of battle. Marcus's phone buzzed. A text from Jessie, now a high school senior applying to colleges. "Got accepted to Stanford. Love you, Dad." He smiled. That was what mattered. Not the darkness he'd embraced, not the lines he'd crossed, but the light he'd protected. Justice wasn't always clean. It wasn't always legal. But sometimes when the system failed, when evil wore the armor of corruption, justice required men willing to step into shadows and do what others couldn't. Marcus Sanders had stepped into those shadows, and he'd come back with his daughter safe, his conscience intact, and 23 monsters neutralized without becoming one himself. That, he decided, was victory enough. The facility lights came on across the valley, illuminating the compound where he trained the next generation of operators. Good men and women learning to be better, to be smarter, to be capable of extraordinary things, including, when necessary, extraordinary justice. Marcus stood, stretched, and walked back to his office. Tomorrow would bring new students, new challenges, new opportunities to teach the difference between violence and force, between revenge and justice. But tonight, he was just a father whose daughter was safe, going to college, building a future those 23 men had tried to destroy. And in Alaska, on a fishing boat cutting through dark water, Buddy Kennedy pulled nets and remembered a life that felt like a dream now, or maybe a nightmare. He was alive, working, surviving. But the man he'd been was dead, killed by a father who taught him that some debts couldn't be paid with money or time. They had to be paid with everything. Years later, when people asked Marcus Sanders about his most successful operation, he'd smile and say it was classified. But his students knew. They'd been there, they'd been part of it, and they carried that knowledge like a badge of honor. They'd served justice when justice couldn't serve itself. They protected the innocent by removing the guilty. They'd proven that sometimes the difference between right and wrong wasn't in the law books. It was in the hearts of men willing to stand up when others looked away. Marcus Sanders built an empire on that principle. And every student who graduated from his program understood, you don't just learn tactics here. You learn responsibility. You learn that with great capability comes the obligation to use it wisely, carefully, and when necessary, absolutely. The Iron Cross Motorcycle Club became a cautionary tale in certain circles. A reminder that corruption had limits, that evil eventually faced consequences, that some fathers would move heaven and earth, and everything in between, to protect their children. And in a quiet hospital room in Reno, a therapist helped Jesse Sanders work through trauma, rebuild trust, find strength. The therapist asked once if Jesse felt her attackers had faced justice. Jesse smiled. Yes, I think they did. The gang war. Something like that. The therapist noted that Jesse seemed at peace with whatever had happened. Sometimes she decided it was better not to ask too many questions. Sometimes justice worked in mysterious ways. Marcus Sanders would say it worked in precise ways, when precise men chose to act. But he'd keep that opinion to himself, locked away with the other secrets from that weekend. The weekend when 41 operators vanished 23 monsters and somehow stayed heroes. The sun set on Montana, and Marcus Sanders poured a glass of whiskey, raised it to the twilight, and whispered, to Jesse, to justice, to the men who stand in the gap. And somewhere in the darkness, 23 ghosts remembered why they now lived in fear. Because they'd learned the hard way, you don't hurt Marcus Sanders' daughter. You don't hurt anyone's daughter. And if you do, you better pray the law finds you first. Because what comes after is far worse than any prison. It's exile. It's erasure. It's knowing that the life you took for granted was a privilege, not a right, and that some sins cost everything. Marcus Sanders taught that lesson well, and the world became a slightly safer place because of it.
This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your precious time. If you enjoyed this story, then please make sure you subscribe to this channel. That would help me a lot. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.